Stoicism has the power to profoundly change the way we live and perceive our lives. It is not just a set of philosophical ideas, but a truly transformative practice. By understanding its principles, we start to face difficulties in a more rational and balanced way, developing a stronger emotional intelligence and learning to build an inner strength that enables us to confront life's inevitable challenges with greater clarity and wisdom. Stoic philosophy invites us to realize that suffering often arises more from our interpretation of events than from the events themselves. It offers us a perspective that can be applied daily, making our decisions more conscious and our lives more meaningful. Over the centuries, the teachings of the Stoics have proven their effectiveness, standing the test of time, and continue today to serve as a beacon for those seeking more serenity, purpose, and balance amid the chaos of the modern world. Epictetus was a man who was born into slavery and died as one of the most influential teachers of his time. Yet he never saw himself as a teacher. He was a Stoic philosopher, someone in search of a very specific kind of knowledge, practical knowledge, that once applied, helps us face and overcome the inevitable difficulties of life. Through a combination of his own life experiences and the wisdom of his great mentor, the Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus, Epictetus acquired a kind of knowledge for which people would travel hundreds of miles just to have the opportunity to hear him, even if only for an hour or two. Parents sent their children to listen to him, from the poorest to the richest and most powerful. Even Emperor Hadrian competed for the chance to sit at the feet of Epictetus. Fortunately, there was a young man who regularly attended his lectures and decided to write down everything he had to say. Remarkably, these notes have survived to this day and have been passed down to some of the greatest figures in history over the last 2,000 years. Even the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, expressing gratitude to the man who lent him a copy of Epictetus's works. It is known that Theodore Roosevelt, one of the most notable American presidents, carried a copy of Epictetus with him during his perilous expedition down the River of Doubt. Admiral James Stockdale carried Epictetus while leading fighter squadrons in combat during the Vietnam War, and he relied on Epictetus's teachings to survive 7 years as a prisoner of war. The list goes on endlessly, and after watching this video, you will understand why, and perhaps add your own name to the list of those who consider him a mentor, for Epictetus truly was one of the wisest and most inspiring individuals to ever exist in human history. One of the first and most important lessons from Epictetus is the dichotomy of control. He teaches us to divide and distinguish things into two categories: external things, which we cannot control, and the choices we make in response to what we can control. Where will I find good and evil? In myself, in my choices. This single skill, said Epictetus, will change your life. The art of differentiating between what depends on us and what does not. For example, a flight gets delayed due to the weather. No matter how much you yell at the airline attendant or get upset and cause scene, the storm will not go away because of your reaction. No desire will make you taller or shorter, or allow you to have been born in another country, no matter how hard you try. There are people who simply will not like you, regardless of your efforts. Moreover, the time we spend fighting against these permanent realities is time we do not devote to the things we can actually change. As Epictetus used to say, the only thing we can control is the decisions we make, and the same applies to you. Focus on clearly identifying which parts of your day are under your control and which are not. By doing so, you will not only be happier, but also gain a distinct advantage over people who fail to realize they are wasting time fighting battles they cannot win. Another key Stoic lesson is that you decide how to react. Epictetus used to say that it is not events that disturb people, but the judgments they make about them. Albert Ellis, one of the most influential figures in modern psychology, said that this very idea guided him in developing cognitive behavioral therapy. Epictetus emphasized that this is the most important power we have. Something happens, but it is we who decide whether it is unjust, bad, or a failure. Someone says something to you, but it is you who decides whether it is offensive or arrogant. This realization changes everything. It puts you back in control of your own mind, your own peace. The Stoics teach us that between stimulus and response, there is always a space, and within that space lies our freedom to choose how to respond. Understanding and practicing this idea can make the difference between a life dominated by reactions and emotions and a life guided by reason, wisdom, and inner strength. Pierre Hadot described Marcus Aurelius's meditations as a collection of spiritual exercises, and there is no exercise that Marcus practiced more diligently than meditating on his own mortality. Perhaps it was his own health problems that made him so aware of death. Perhaps it was the loss of his father at a young age, or the unimaginable grief of losing 8 of his children. Perhaps it was the Antonine Plague, which killed between 10 and 18 million people during his reign. Or perhaps it was the power of memento mori, the ancient practice of reflecting on mortality, that kept Marcus constantly mindful of the fragility of life. This practice traces back to Socrates, who said that the true practice of philosophy consists in nothing other than preparing to die and being dead. Most people label memento mori, which Marcus Aurelius practiced daily, as morbid or dark. Most people want to avoid thinking about death. It is unpleasant, frightening, and sad. Why would anyone want to think about something they don't want to happen? All of this might seem meaningless, but that's not the case. It's not about becoming anxious over the limited number of days you have left. The purpose is the opposite. It is meant to liberate, to inspire, and it serves as the key to happiness by opening the door to empowerment, gratitude, and a fully present attitude in each moment of every day. Memento mori is the jolt that keeps us grounded in the present moment. Marcus Aurelius liked to ask himself, who on earth, knowing that they might have only a few minutes left to live, would choose to spend that time being discontent, scared, or depressed? Our mortality is not something to depress us. It is something to energize us. It quiets the noise of trivial, petty, and useless concerns that waste so much of our energy. Because in the light of death, very few things are worth getting angry, stressed, or worried about. Therefore, keep reminding yourself, just as Marcus Aurelius did, that you could leave life right now. Let that awareness determine what you do, say, and think. This reflection is not meant to make you fearful, but to help you live more fully and intentionally. It reminds you to focus on what truly matters, to let go of grudges, anxieties, and distractions that do not contribute to a meaningful life. The Stoics believed that by contemplating death, we learn how to live, not in fear, but with courage, virtue, and appreciation for every moment we are given. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to share it with a friend who might need to hear this wisdom. Help us spread this ancient knowledge that has transformed countless lives throughout history. The Stoic teachings are not just for scholars or philosophers. They are practical tools for anyone seeking to live with more resilience, purpose, and inner peace. By sharing this content, you contribute to a movement that values reflection, self-mastery, and the pursuit of a life guided by reason and virtue.